the principal.
How?
Oh, like I indicated before, the principal needs to sit down with every teacher and talk about the objectives which need to be achieved. These are different for a band teacher, they're different for a foreign language teacher, they're different for a math teacher. And these objectives are being assessed by the principal at the end of the year.
Should student achievement be part of that evaluation?
Yes.
And then how do you measure that student achievement so that people at different schools in different situations have comparable scores?
I had to better understand why we need to be worried about the comparable scores. Why do we need to worry about whether or not the scores are comparable?
I'm not sure we're worried about whether the scores are comparable as far as whether you're treating the teachers the same way and measuring the same types of things. How do you do that? How do you ensure fairness in the process? And my next question, you got to know this one's coming. Do you hinge their pay on all of this?
Yes.
Should you? You should?
Yes.
Help me understand that.
Okay. Maybe I need to be a little bit more elaborate. I said we give the teacher objectives. And the objectives depends what it is. For example, play the instrument and play this and this piece. You need to be able to have this level of ability. In math, it could be stuff which we can test on computers or test through EOCs. The principal does the assessment based on the objectives that have agreed to. Now, I will have to assess the principal that the principal does his or her job, right? If I have a principal where I get lots of complaints that teachers feel they're not being treated fairly, then I need to assess the principal accordingly.
Only if you receive complaints?
No, but this is as an example. I need to evaluate the principal the same way as I evaluate the teachers. Besides the fact, what I also think is done very wrong at this time, we have a control span in the schools which is not manageable. In other words, the principal is responsible for typically 100 or 200 teachers. And the department heads have very little personnel responsibility or authority. So if you consider, I don't know in what organizations you worked, but if you consider that typically a control span shouldn't be more than 8, 10, 12 people, we need to also establish department heads which are more than just lead teachers. And if you do this, you have a hierarchy which starts out by assessing the teacher by people who know him, department heads. The department heads are being assessed by the principal and the principal by a superintendent.
So, I want to go back to the teacher pay question. So you think that teachers should receive pay based on the academic achievement of their students?
Not only, I would subscribe, right now CMS, Mr. Davis is talking about 5 criteria. And this would be fine we can debate this to more detail, how this is being put together.
If a test score is one of those measures, then the tests have to be given in every subject to be fair. The kindergarten teacher has to have standardized tests for his or her students as well as the high school biology 2 teacher.
If you don't mind that I'm talking about assessment, because test has the flavor of being a piece of paper being put on your desk, typically multiple choice, then, okay, let me say it differently. I believe in assessments. And the assessments need to be good enough to measure what they're supposed to measure. Like I said, if you play in the band, I'm not just interested in doing a multiple choice. I need to assess the student based on how he or she plays.
How do you, with a band student, how do you know whether the band teacher is great or if the student has a really good private trumpet teacher?
I see this in the outcome both from the student and from other students. In other words, how the teacher teaches the whole class. It's not just a matter of one student related to the teacher.
If you don't mind, help me out with something.
I mention something real quickly. Could you speak up just a little bit? I want to be sure that the recorder and everybody hears.
Hans, I thought I heard you say that you would have to, as you were elaborating, that you would have to evaluate the principal.
Yes.
And because you want the principal to evaluate the teachers and all, and you were talking about span of control and all that. Do you really mean that as a member of the Board of Education, the board, you would evaluate principal?
No. I said the superintendent.
Oh, the superintendent?
Yes. No, not the board.
Okay.
The board evaluates the superintendent.
Oh, okay.